Started it now, though.
Okay.
You ready now? Okay.
Yes.
This is the Beyond the Dojo podcast. I'm Lauren.
I'm Jeremiah.
And unfortunately, we don't have a funny note to start off our podcast on. We lost one of our podcast hosts 2 weeks ago. We had to put our dog down.
Yeah.
So she won't be tippy-tapping or drinking water while we're trying to podcast.
Or be her normal pre-Madonna self.
I know. She's a prima donna in spirit.
Yes.
Yes. She had a tumor, and it was bad.
It's not a tumor.
What? That's so messed up. Yeah, we had a really hard couple of weeks with that, so that was not good.
Yeah, we're laughing now, but that's probably one of the few times we get to laugh about it, huh?
Oh boy, yeah, it was tough. But everyone knows doggies are the bestest. We don't deserve them, so it was tough.
Agreed.
Yeah, but anyhow, so let's go straight into it. So the Olympics are done. Why are you messing with your drink? Is there a bug in there?
There was a fly.
We have a problem with flies in here right now. This is Florida, so we always have bugs.
Sorry.
We're used to just sleeping with spiders and stuff. So the Olympics just ended.
Yes. Well, not just, but recently.
Well, like this week, right? Wasn't it this week? This past week?
No, it's like last week, wasn't it?
Listen, I didn't even watch it live, so it doesn't matter. I watched it on YouTube and on Peacock, so I was just watching it after the fact. So obviously, we've talked about this a little bit prior to, like, anticipation of the Olympics. And then once it got started, it was a roller coaster of things.
Yeah.
So let's start with, like, the coolest thing. So I paid attention. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say I paid attention to women's kata because I had actually been... I've never really been into tournament stuff. Like, I think we've made ourselves pretty clear about how we feel about tournaments.
Well,
You want to give them a brief overview of how we feel about tournaments?
I feel like it's part of your growth in karate, but it's
Sure.
not the focus of it. And that sometimes the sport takes away from the art.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not real life applicable karate. So if this is the first episode for some reason that you've ever listened to of us, it's not that we hate tournament karate, but we kind of hate it.
Nah, I wouldn't say we hate it. I don't want to put it out like that. I just think it's just a part. To me, it's like the preteens.
Yeah, it's kind of the more immature version of karate. Like, not to use, like, that's a bad word, but right. It's just like, it's not karate that has been developed over time for a specific purpose other than just kind of showing it off.
Yeah,
that still sounds bad.
It's very physical. It's very athletic.
Right.
Which karate should be, but at the same time, it's not the only part of karate.
Right. I guess it's more of a development of athleticism, like you said.
Right.
Like, they're really good at being athletes, and they're really good at showing that part.
Right.
But the actual, like, use of the combative sport that karate is for its purpose, tournaments they just don't do that, especially not WKF tournaments.
Right. I get you there.
So, so I recently started following Sandra Sanchez. I don't remember where I saw her initially. Oh, I know what it was. I watched last year when we were still anticipating the Olympics coming up in the summer when it was supposed to be. I started watching like some replays and stuff of tournaments and things they were doing prior to the Olympics. So at the end of 2019, they actually had, I guess it was like a world championship or something. And Sandra Sanchez was there versus Shimizu Kiyo. I had to write her name down because I always forget her name. And that was in Japan. And they were both excellent. And I think they both had to, like, do a bunch of katas because they were getting tied and they had, like, the same score. Or anyway, at the end of it, Shimizu Kiyo won. And I don't know if I agreed with that at the time, but whatever. So fast forward now a year and a half, and the same matchup happened in women's kata in the Olympics. And this is in Japan again. And it's Sandra Sanchez and Shimizu Kiyo. And, dude, Sandra Sanchez is just, like, I mean, you can tell, like, she's almost, so she just turned 40. So she was 39 at the time of the Olympics. I think she just turned 40 or is about to turn 40. And you can tell, like, she has that, like, mature control of her body. Shimizu Kiyo is only 27. But there's a difference when you watch the two of them in their final matchup. They both did, I don't know what the name of the kata is. It's Shanku, something Shonku.
The different variations of Konkudai.
Yeah, and they both did the same thing. So so it was easier to be able to match them up move per move. And Sandra Sanchez was just so good about, she was quick. She has, like, if you want to talk about Kime, she has this amazing ability to stop her body from moving. And that aids her in completing her movements. This is the thing, is I watched her, and then I watched Shimizu Kyo, and I felt like Kyo, like she, I don't know if it was, which one's her first name? Is Shimizu
Kyo
her
is probably her first name, and Shimizu.
Okay, so Shimizu, sorry. I felt like she was fast, but she just didn't have that same ability to stop everything at the same time the way Sandra Sanchez did. So there was still like a little bit of like after effect movement. And listening to the announcers, they were saying, you know, you have, as the athlete, you have the ability to like artistically express yourself, so you're kind of performing the kata however you want. But Sandra Sanchez was just so completely put together that there was just the other lady had no chance. And saying that, I saw some of the guys doing the same kata, and I honestly felt like she was better than they were. Did you see that?
I didn't watch much of the kata competition. I thought the cool thing was, for us Florida folk, the Ariel Torres, the American karateka, the only American karateka that medaled, is from Florida. He's from Miami.
Oh, okay.
So
what was he
seen,
competing in?
Huh?
What was he competing in?
Kata.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a Gojuru guy.
Oh, okay.
Only way I found out, I guess he has a connection to Robert Young, I followed him on Facebook, and I believe he's a pretty talented coach for kata, because a lot of top kata players in the States kind of go through his dojo, especially Gojuru guys.
Right.
I thought that was really cool that an American actually placed, because we always feel like, you know, as Americans, we think we're really good at things, but then when we look at the world view, we're not that great in karate. We're not, you know, and that's the problem, is like we have to understand, like, the Europeans and the Japanese or the Asian countries, they definitely still have an edge on us.
Well, we've talked about the culture a number of times. The culture in the U.S. for martial arts that are not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or MMA, it's like everyone thinks that just kids do it.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I just think that here people are not as likely to be competitive. I mean, this is kind of off subject, but like Taekwondo was in, we got to watch a little bit of the Taekwondo stuff, which, say what you want about it, we know that Olympic karate is not really representative of traditional karate, so I would venture to say that Olympic Taekwondo is not really that representative of traditional Taekwondo.
Yeah.
Did I enjoy watching the Olympic Taekwondo? Absolutely not. But I also don't think all of Taekwondo is crap just because I didn't like the way it looked in the Olympics. They have to change things in order to, you know, simplify it or whatever.
The Olympic Committee has a very strong influence on what it looks like.
Right.
You know, that's part of the thing. You have to make sure that the committee buys into what you're selling.
So that being said, you know, the competitors in Taekwondo were really young.
Yeah.
I mean, the I don't know what they call it. They're sparring. I mean, the girl that won was 18. And I think part of that is just because of, like, what scores and what is considered competition. I mean, they do a ton of kicks, and it's a lot of whipping around and doing crazy stuff with flexible joints that older adults wouldn't be able to do. And I feel like a lot of the kumite for karate is the same way, where it's a lot of, like, hook kicking and stuff that a lot of older people are not really going to be able to do unless they've been training really hard for a long time. So right. I think that's a big indicator too of, like, I don't know. That was just kind of an off observation here, but I don't know. I guess I wonder how old the competitors were who did kumite. We didn't follow super closely on that part. Well, did you watch a lot of that?
Sandra Sanchez, I think, is an anomaly for karate competitors.
Right.
I believe they're considered over the hill when, like, in their mid-30s.
Yeah.
Like your elite karate career, international competition career is usually done by the mid-30s. Mm-hmm. There are people that still compete and are competitive. Like,
right.
I can't say his name right. I know I'm going to say it wrong. Rafael Agaev or something like that. One of the greatest kumite competitors ever. He's had such a long history of world championships, right? Mm-hmm. And he plays, I think, third.
Right.
But he's an anomaly also. Like, there's the thing about karate to me is, like, it's not as bad as Taekwondo yet, in the sense that you have to be you super young, super flexible, athletic. There's still some some strategy and experience. Yeah.
Right. Okay,
Yeah,
so I was just looking up how old Riku Usami is. So this is another point I wanted to make. I feel like Riku Usami should have been the competitor for Japan. I don't know if she like
Rika.
Okay, well I don't know if she like
Oh, she decided to
retired.
retire.
She
decided
did?
to, yeah.
She's only 35.
Dude, she was on top of her game and walked away. She was
This
dominating.
is true because
she's
she's just unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah.
she's incredible, and she might be one of the only people that could have given Sandra Sanchez a run for her money. I feel like she's incredible.
That was I believe back in the day that was the matchup. The main matchup was Rika Usami.
Okay, see, I haven't followed any of this prior to now.
She retired like I don't know 5 years now or so.
Yeah, she's just incredible. Like, so this is a kind of another thing is like talking about the completing of techniques and stuff in kata. One of the things that Sandra Sanchez did, which I thought was great, is like you can see at the end of the movement, like there's not like excessive tension necessarily, but she's like got strong fists. Her alignment is good. I felt like Shimizukiyo, like she had like soft fists, and it was kind of. I don't mean to be critical, but that's what I felt like. You know, if you're looking at the top two, that's probably what maybe put her behind a little bit as far as the scores went.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like the commentators were saying, what did he say? You wouldn't want to run up on her, on Sandra Sanchez, because she might kick your ass. But I wonder how much these women that I got to watch, how applicable their karate is. Like, can they use that? Like, if they were to take that quick movement and they were to start hitting stuff, or if they were to use it on people, I wonder how well they would do.
I think that's a trap in stereotyping.
Okay.
Because if you look at them and you start watching some like their bios and stuff where they do background stories and stuff, these girls come up and these athletes come up in traditional dojos.
Right.
You know, they're not. You know, we think of a sport karate dojo, we automatically think of like, lines and lines of people standing in sparring stance doing jab, reverse punch, or hook kicks all day, right? And that's not really the case when it comes to kata competitors.
Right.
They're more into the form and structure and movement. So I feel like they would have a better understanding what karate is.
So they would do well.
It's not as disassociated from the art as Kumite is nowadays. So.
Oh, you think the kata competitors?
Yeah, I think the kata competitors are closer associated to traditional karate approach than I would say the Kumite players. Because the Kumite players, it's whatever the game dictates.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And think about back when I was competing in AAU and stuff, the main scoring kicking technique was a roundhouse.
Right.
Right? And then right as I was getting starting to quit competing, it started to become this hook kick.
Right.
Which
is slower, so I don't really understand.
Right, but it does have some effectiveness. It does. Right. It's unique. It's flashier. It's more appealing. Mm-hmm. But there was definitely a disconnect. Like a lot of things we were talking about in Kumite training was you were losing technique to gain speed.
Okay. Yeah. You
were losing stance, so you'd be more in athletic position. Mm-hmm. And that kind of. Think about it. Kumitedachi, fighting stance. Generally, you want, traditionally, you're talking about your feet aligned up towards the target, right? Mm-hmm. But towards the end of my competing days, everybody was encouraging that rear foot to be pointed perpendicular to the front foot.
Ooh, why?
That's what I think, right?
Yeah.
But that's what they felt like was more agile, and I guess it was because the front foot, I don't know. I just knew they were never doing that, and I was like, I don't really like that, but whatever.
Yeah, scientifically it's not faster, but maybe they wanted like a rooted approach or something.
Maybe it's more agile in the sense of direction change or whatever.
Oh, okay, maybe
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't stick around long enough, obviously.
Right.
So that to me was like, I get that Kumite became more of a point game.
Right. Well, what's interesting is how different, like people look different when they're performing even the same kata, but Kumite, how different people's styles can be. And I've seen a lot of European stuff and they all look the same in a lot of cases, but like the 75 plus matchup there at the end with the Iranian versus the Saudi, their style was so different. Like the Iranian just kept going in for sweeps and kept like going after the feet, and the Saudi guy was like, I don't know, I felt like he did a lot more other things, like upper and lower. And I wonder if that's just because like different tradition, like the different base style they came from, or if...
I don't think you could judge someone's fighting style based on one match.
Yeah, okay.
Because, you know, that guy could have been caught up in the moment. The guy from the Iranian could have got caught up in the moment.
Kept trying to sweep and grab.
And just knew that worked before, so he's going to do it to get the win.
Dude, and he did it over and over again. And it didn't work.
Right. It wasn't scoring.
Right.
The Saudi guy was ready for it, so he'd get the foot to be swept, but the guy's hands would be in the way. He knew how to kind of like bunch it up to it wasn't clean. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
And with sweeps, what the crazy thing about sweeps is it has to be a clear takedown. Mm-hmm. So the sweep before, when I was competing, was as long as, you know, you could sweep the foot and you come off the ground and you come in with a punch.
Right.
They would consider that ippon because it was a ashibarai. But nowadays, it has to be a clear takedown to the ground and a clear score, which is super difficult.
Right.
Right? But if you're really good at it.
And what was the deal? They gave him a point for something with this sweep. Was it because, like, I misunderstood maybe what it was? Something about a recovery thing. That was the only reason he got on the board.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
Well,
I know the other guy was definitely dominating the match. And the other guy, I believe, is one of these, like... My understanding is the guy from Saudi Arabia is like an up-and-coming, really good Kumitedachi player, like one of the world's best.
He was really good.
He was.
I thought he was fantastic.
I thought he was definitely a level above his competition.
The Iranian.
Like, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, the way he moved.
I thought it was very clear he was going to win.
Like... Just the way he controlled the match, like he kept what he wanted was in front of him the whole time.
Yeah.
And when the Iranian made the move, he knew what the move was. He knew this guy's gonna do this to me.
Right.
And he just, you know, instead of trying to fight, you know, fire with fire, he decided, well, I'll just cover up, make it pointless.
Yeah.
And then do my thing.
Yeah, I just felt like he was so much cleaner. Like besides, he obviously had like an attitude of like dominating the match, but everything he did. Most of what he did seemed like it had a purpose, versus I felt like the Iranian was just so... He was like, oh my god, I gotta get this sweep in. And he just kept grabbing and doing it. And I felt like it started to fall apart. And I don't know if it's just because he was angsty, because he wasn't winning, or I don't know. But I just felt like his side fell apart.
That lead leg front kick...
Oh my god. Oh, wait. Front kick or roundhouse
roundhouse,
kick?
I'm sorry. That lead leg roundhouse was perfectly timed.
Dude.
Oh my... That dude had the best... Well, and that was the thing about the match. The Saudi Arabian, if you watch the match, he was like, his timing was so much better. It's
always good, yeah.
So much better than the attack. Like, it was one of those, like...
He would have been an amazing gold medalist. It would have gone down in history as like, absolutely, there's no doubt about it. Here is the first gold medal that your country ever gets, and you earned it, rightfully so. And then he knocked the guy out, supposedly.
Well, the guy was laying flat on his back, so either way, it wasn't the consideration of knocking the guy out. It's just the contact to the face.
Oh my god,
which to me, I don't like it because it's an adult. I understand it for youth and cadet level competitors because it's just safety of your children.
Right.
You know, but this is an adult, right?
I know.
He knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not the first time he's going to get knocked out.
Right.
It won't be the last time he gets knocked out. It's just one of those things, right? You're a combative athlete. You need to kind of accept that. He did. I hate this about. I don't like this about soccer, and I really hate it about karate. Is when there's a foul that happens, they overplay it. Overplay, like, oh my god, I can't talk right, you know, like it's, you know what I'm saying.
So
I hate that. It's like, oh, dude. All right,
story time. So we were in a tournament one time, and they asked me to spar because this 17-year-old didn't have anybody to spar against. Long story short, they had called Yame. She hit me after Yame, and she gave me like a bruise on the side of my face, and to say that I was angry about it was an understatement. The Southern killer came out of me, and I was ripping my mouth guard out, yelling expletives. I was about to kill her right there in front of everyone in between the match. But we started going again, and later I hit her back. Like, I knocked the shit out of her on purpose. And she was like, oh my god, my face. And the head judge just kind of looked at her. And he came over and looked at me, looked at my eye again. He's like, oh, okay. But she was like playing it up. I'm like, look, dude, look, we've got these fancy pants gloves on. You're fine, okay? I didn't knock you out, so you're good.
Yeah.
They definitely do that.
Yeah, dude.
They definitely play that up.
I hate that so much. And me being a bigger guy back in the day, it was like, bro, come on, man. Yeah. Come on. Because, you get a good Gyakuzuki and, like, chewed on Gyakuzuki, you hit him really good. It's a solid thud. You're like, yeah, that's all right. And then all of a sudden the guy's, like, grabbing his rib. He's like, can't get up on the line, breathing all hard. Like, bro.
Look at the backwardsness of this. This backwardsness, I just made up that word. This is a combat sport. Could you imagine the UFC? Someone's like, oh my God, you hurt me so bad. Like, that is where I would hit next time, is the place where you're hurting. Why would you give that away? I don't get it. Okay, so let's take this a step further. So Joe Rogan obviously heard about this match.
I didn't watch that or hear that.
Okay, I watched it. So Joe Rogan did a little spiel on his podcast about this ridiculous matchup where the guy who was winning lost, got disqualified because he knocked the other guy out. And if, I feel like in karate we have enough cultural battles to fight in the US because people don't take us seriously. That was probably the worst thing that could have happened as far as culture goes, because everything was going great, everything was awesome, there's great competitors, whatever, and then somebody knocked somebody out, and rather than winning, he had his gold medal taken away, and the gold medal was given to someone who was laying flat on his back on the floor. He gets the gold medal, which is embarrassing enough as it is. But, it went into this whole thing where they're like, they didn't understand that part, and they were talking about, they were just basically not taking karate seriously, because they're like, this is bullcrap, like, this is a combat sport, and this guy gets knocked out, and he gets punished, the guy that knocks him out gets punished for it. But then they even started digging into kata, and like how kata competition is stupid, which I don't think it's stupid necessarily given that it's established, but I feel like this is one of the reasons why the originators of like Shotokan were like, hey, let's not, like Life Funakoshi was like, hey, let's not do tournaments because it's not going to be taken seriously, and it's probably not a good idea to bring a tournament aspect to everything. But they were hardcore making fun of us.
Yeah, and I'm not going to take it personally. I mean, no disrespect to Joe Rogan. He knows what he's talking about, but some things he doesn't completely understand what the situation is. So he's making his own opinion. Get that, yeah. And he could have his opinion, but he's a Taekwondo guy.
Yeah.
From the
there's
US.
That.
I mean, so honestly, he wouldn't understand kata.
Right.
Point blank.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he really doesn't have a leg to stand on comparing karate sparring compared to Taekwondo sparring, because
I don't think he was, and I think they did make mention of the Taekwondo, like Olympic Taekwondo.
Yeah.
But in their mind, it's always going to be karate versus MMA, and I feel like that's the culture war we're facing. Is that it's always what we see in Olympic karate or McDojo karate versus MMA, and it's not the same.
Yeah. I'll say this. I mean, we're talking a lot of crap about competitive and sport karate.
I don't think we are.
The problem is people can't distinguish between the two. It's not obvious enough yet to the general public that sport karate is sport karate.
Yeah, it's not.
And traditional karate is traditional karate.
Well, I don't think anybody really knows.
They don't even know the difference.
I mean,
they don't even know there's two different approaches.
I mean, I feel like, I feel like most martial arts, there's an Olympic version, and then there's the traditional version. You feel like that's true?
Well, to an extent, yeah.
I wonder if other sports are the same.
Probably not, because when you start out as being intended as a sport, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But when your art it's an old, ancient art that you've been doing for centuries, right? And then it becomes a sport.
Right.
There's always going to be a division. There's always going to be this division of like, oh no, it's not the, you know what I'm saying?
Well, and I guess.
Even, let's say, and people could argue that judo is blah, blah, blah. But judo derived from jujitsu.
Is that true? Or is it the other way around?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kano, the founder of judo, originally studied a style of jujitsu.
Japanese jiu-jitsu.
And then focused on the throws.
Oh, okay.
But if you look at old judo, they still had arm locks. They still had all these joint manipulations. It just wasn't the same.
Right.
So to compare those two, and to compare something not like traditional martial arts, always there's a lot of self practice. Like but you could do basically your martial arts against the air, right?
Yeah.
Judo and jiu-jitsu is like wrestling.
Right, and you have to have somebody. They don't really have
right?
katas.
So it's no different than, like I said, wrestling. Was that Greco wrestling, Roman Greco wrestling,
Greco-Roman wrestling,
and stuff like that, where it's kind of sport based. It's already sport oriented.
So will you take something where you have your air training and
right. So I feel like a lot of these guys that do that are comparing that. It's like comparing jiu-jitsu and aikido.
Because aikido can have a lot of air training type stuff.
No,
right?
aikido you have to have a partner.
Well, don't they have their like?
No, that's a warm up.
That thing.
The judo has warm ups too.
What's
Wrestling has warm up too. I don't know.
The like Rowan drill.
I don't know.
Okay.
Just telling you.
Yeah.
So it's a weird comparison.
Yeah.
It's really weird that people compare arts like that. And it's not like it's because there's no comparison. There should be a comparison, but at the same time,
there's a different emphasis in that particular form of combat.
Every dojo has a different emphasis in a sense,
right?
And like what they want to get done or what they're trying to achieve. Even like traditional karate dojos now, you got traditional karate dojos that emphasize the tradition,
right?
Like, we doing it the old style. They don't want to change nothing. They're going to do it the same mechanics, have the same issues that their grandmaster had. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no progression there. But if they see another karate or martial arts or karateka do traditional karate, but it's different, then you get judged just as harshly.
This kind of bothers me is the reason that the Olympic Committee went with WKF is because they have simplified rules. And if I understand correctly, from what I had seen prior to last year when the Olympics were supposed to happen, they actually laid out which techniques actually score. So there's like only specific techniques or specific movements that score. So it's like a hook kick, a sweep and punch, or like certain punches, and they score so much, and that's what scores. It's not other things, if I understand that correctly. So the fact that you have to simplify it that much, I mean, I just feel like that's if you can watch a gymnast or you can watch a karateka and or like doing kata and you can come up with scores based on their technical prowess, and you can watch that, and they all have their own artistic, expression of that. If you can watch one person who is doing that, why can't you watch two people and judge on effectiveness of technique and distance and timing? I mean, traditional tournaments do it all the time. Why did we have to have such simplified rules in order to make it to an Olympic level? I don't know. I just feel like that's overdoing it. Oh, it's... I feel like it's less appealing that way.
That's the Olympic, committee. It's like, how can we have this televised worldwide and then no one know what's going on?
Okay. So this is another topic, and I've actually had it on our list of podcast topics. Let's talk about it now real quick. So certain martial arts are spectator sports, and some are not. And that's part of the problem with, like, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is, like, if you watch it as a spectator, you might not have any idea what's going on. Because the person who is on the bottom might be the person who's winning. But in traditional wrestling, the person on the top is the one who's winning. So I wonder if karate is the same way, where it's like you might have no clue what's going on unless you had specific things to look for.
I think you have a good point, but I think it's slightly off. And that the point that I think it's off is this. When you watch a Brazilian match or you watch a wrestling match, at the end of the day, you could watch them go, oh, that makes sense. That's a point.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm choking the dude out. He slaps and he slaps out.
I guess I'm curious how much of that you can actually see.
You can see it. It's obvious.
Okay.
You just watch it. Go, oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, this is coming from there are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys who say this is not a spectator sport.
If you want to have a complete understanding of the match.
Right. Yeah.
But you can watch a match and go, oh, I get why he won.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
And karate sparring, it's not as clear.
Yeah.
Because you're not winning by knockout.
Right. You're winning by like
point.
Closeness.
So what's a point? What's not a point?
Yeah.
Why did his punch get a point and the guy do the same exact technique and not get one?
See, I feel like I feel like simplifying those parameters would be better. Like, certain distance and, I don't know, certain amount of... I don't know. I just feel like there's a... I feel like there's a better way. I just feel like
they're
there's
trying
a
to
better
not have to educate
way.
the public.
Okay. Well...
That's what it comes down to. They don't have
Well,
to.
okay, well, they haven't educated the public, and now we're a laughingstock.
No, I'm not. I don't take other people's opinions of the art, uneducated opinions about the art, to heart, because I go, you know what? You don't know what you're looking at. Mm-hmm.
This is true.
And if that is how you see it, then that's your loss. As a martial artist, and as these guys, you know, like especially MMA guys, I take the best from whatever art I take, and I do what I can, and I build it up to be the best for me. To nullify a complete aspect, a striking art,
Because somebody got knocked out.
Because in the Olympics, someone got knocked out and didn't get a gold,
Right.
or knocked somebody out and didn't get a gold.
I feel like that was
That's
the
just
one time people had the opportunity to see karate. A lot of people don't see it. They don't ever watch any of the competitions. They don't even know what it looks like. I don't know. I just feel like that was the one time the public eye was on karate. And
the public eye's been on karate for a very long time, and there's certain styles and approaches that have ruined the idea that karate is effective. Mm-hmm. If you talk to guys that trained in the 70s, early 80s, before they allowed a lot of children into the dojo, it was a mainly adult activity, and it was fierce.
Right.
As they let children in, they consistently watered it down.
Right.
And to the point where now a black belt could be achievable in a year. Mm-hmm. And if you're a traditional karateka, you know that's crap. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You don't have to be educated. Right. You don't have to be an educated public spectator to know a black belt that hadn't won in a year, and then look at a black belt that got one in 4 years.
If you can actually watch them side by side.
And look at him and go, oh, wow, that guy looks like he's about to fall on his ass. He can barely move. Oh, look at this guy. He looks like a ballerina. He's got great balance and, and coordination. Wow.
Yeah.
Why are they so different? Well, a year, 4 years.
Yeah.
Every
time somebody tells me I'm a black belt and blah, 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 I'm just like, okay. Because I'm not making a judgment on them. I literally know nothing about their training black belt background, so saying black belt doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, I usually ask how long they've been training.
I try to just not even go there because I don't want the judgment to show on my face if they say 6 months.
I don't care.
So I just...
I don't care. And
sometimes it's 8 years and it's still...
Yeah. Well, I won't say it.
We still love you guys.
All right. Well, it's a matter of ability, and it's a matter of a progression.
Can we just say that when we make jokes like that, we're not really making fun of the person who trained for 6 months and got a black belt. It's just the situation that someone along the line, one of your instructors or your instructor's instructor decided that it was okay to allow such a minimal amount of training and to lower the standard of black belt so much. So we're not laughing at you. We're laughing for you and crying for you.
Well, it's something we combat all the time too, though, because, let's say within our own dojo, right? Mm-hmm. You have a 7 or 8 year old child that does well, learns the katas, right? Wants to learn more katas because he thinks the more he learns, the closer to black belt he gets, or she gets, right? Mm-hmm. And we have to sit down and tell them it's not about that. It's not about how much you know. It's how well you do it, right? How well you perform the technique,
right?
And it's a completely 180-degree perspective change.
Yeah.
Because it's not what you know, it's how well you do it.
And it's also a different type of reward system, which we've also talked about before. That's kind of the difference between the tournament competitive, not always getting a trophy, but always competing for something or always going for a specific tangible. Validation. Yeah, going for something tangible versus, we're keeping kids at white belt, yellow belt level for a year or two because they don't physically have the ability. They don't have the ability, but they also don't have the maturity to be able to handle it. But the other thing is that we're not introducing tests so early that all they're thinking about is something tangible. They're trying to work on actually just getting better and receiving validation through how they do in class versus
most of the kids are looking for belt tests. Let's be real. Let's be honest.
The older ones are. The younger ones are not. I think everybody I'm talking about everybody up to the age of 8.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are really giving two craps about that.
I'll agree with you there. We do hold them at white belt for a longer time because
they can't do it. They can't do it.
I agree with you there. But I immediately started thinking about like 9 to 12.
No, I feel like at that point you kind of have to have that included because they are working for something. They want to have something to show for it, and
Right. We don't hold our students back. It's based on ability.
Right.
We have students that we have one student now that is going to double test, and the kid has better form than some of our green belts, and better.
Well, because we have some green belts who are occasionally lazy. If you're watching this, I'm watching you.
Well, the good thing is when he tests, he's going to jump right into that class. And he's already told me. He's already said it to me. He's like, I can't wait till I get to that class.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be good.
And that's the beauty of that class is because it becomes this thing where...
He's going into the intermediate class.
Yeah, it's that intermediate class. I'm telling you, man, if you don't have an intermediate class for your kids, you definitely need to. I know it's a lot more time commitment. There's more work. But the beautiful thing is the cream rises to the top. Mm-hmm. And you can't deny it at that age, at that level, because it's like they're doing what I'm asking them to do. Mm-hmm. And you use them in a sense to say, well, he's doing it. Mm-hmm. He's doing better. What's the difference between your training and his training? Yeah. Because some of these kids want to cower. Right. He was a white belt when I was an orange belt.
Well, you should have trained harder.
It sounds like someone's been slacking.
Anyway, we got way off topic. Anyhow, Jeremiah, what you working on? Olympic karate?
Yes, I am working on lead leg roundhouse kicks so that I don't knock someone out and lose a gold medal.
Are you working on You were working on roundhouse kicks, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm working on... I've always had difficulty doing, like, 2 kicks while, like the stereotypical front kick roundhouse or the front kick side thrust kick. Mm-hmm. Controlling my knee and cleaning that up. Mm-hmm. It's just always had a real difficult time doing it. Back when I was younger, I would just mask it with speed and momentum. Just kick really fast and turn it over, kick again, Okay. But now that I can't do that as much, and I harp on my students to not do that, I've slowed it down and worked on controlling my knee position, controlling my hip position, trying not to push and lean forward and all this other stuff. Just so it's clean, because we start having more brown belts, and I don't do what I preach. Yeah, that's not a good thing. So I have to make sure I got those movements down, and that's something that's in the Shodan syllabus anyway. So I need to have it down. Other than that, chinte.
Yes.
Still working on that hip hand timer.
Yes. Indeed.
We're in the remedial class.
Remedial chinte class is what we're in. Chinte for dummies.
I'm so paranoid about bugs right now.
We got flies in here, man. Little tiny flies.
What are you working on?
Chinte.
You're in my class, aren't you? You are in my class.
Let's see. Which part? I went backwards a little bit. And the hip hand timing on this switching from Futodachi into front stance on the reverse punches is not as good. So I am walking around my house in shorter stances, just practicing literally initiating the turn by extending slightly through my back leg and squeezing my backside glute and doing the rotation at the same time that my hands move. So I was doing that, and still working on the Konkudai move into the first Tachishoto. Still working on that.
Konkudai move. You call it the Konkudai move, but
I don't give a crap what it is, okay? It's this open-handed thing above my head. I don't know what to... Okay,
different.
Whatever. This open finger, open hand thing.
The path is different, too.
Shh. Just be quiet. Okay, it's somewhat similar. It's like 2 rising blocks at an angle, whatever it is. Working on the transition of that move, and also, I guess just overall like hip and stance control throughout the rest of the kata, because I progressively lose it throughout the kata and like it's not in a recognizable stance anymore.
You know what I've been told?
What?
If you lose it, you never really had it.
Well, I mean like the shape of the stance. I don't mean like my center. I don't ever have that, but like actually having a stance that looks like a Futodachi by the end of the kata, it's not that anymore. So.
You know what I've incorporated in my training?
What?
Joe training. I know it sounds kind of weird, and I always kind of
Jojo
laughed inside when I heard some. I've been working on weapons, this and that, and it's a really nice break,
Yeah.
And I can see where they could correlate movement with a weapon to improving your karate. Although I haven't seen it I haven't made that connection yet. Mm-hmm. I can understand where they're coming from. It's just a nice break for me, and I made myself do both left leg forward first and right leg forward first, doing the same kata left and right.
Oh wow!
Because it's something new. It's a new pattern.
I've just been using the stick to hit children with.
Yeah, you're not supposed to. That's like evidence, dude.
Oh, sorry. I've been using the stick to make stance corrections and hand corrections, so I don't have to touch any of their little stinky bodies. Not that we're trying to touch children, because that's creepy, but, we make corrections just use the stick.
If you ever get investigated,
investigated.
All the things you just said.
No, but in all seriousness, I use the stick to correct stuff. I use
a stick too.
And I use it to honestly scare people, so it's good. I just walk around the dojo with a stick in my hand.
And to me, it's more respectful to use a jo or a shinai
rather than putting your hands on a child.
Yeah, instead of touching the kid, because sometimes that's just a bad sensory for some kids.
Yeah.
So it's best. It gives you separation from the student. I mean, because you sit there and you go, "Hey, bend your knee," and they don't bend it. You just kind of poke them a little bit with your stick, and boom, they bend their knee. They know what you're asking for.
Yeah.
Or turn your hips and stuff like that, or get your shoulder down. It's really easy to make those corrections.
Right.
So.
Cool. Well, this was great. Well, I don't know. The Olympics is not really coming back in 2024. I mean, the Olympics. Karate's not coming back to the Olympics in 2024, so we'll see if it pops up again. This might be the only time karate was ever in the Olympics. Who knows? But the next time it comes around, hopefully we do not have a knocked out person as a gold medalist.
Yeah. I would say this, as much as I try to defend sport karate, because it is part of your journey.
Sure.
That was probably one of the worst things you could see.
That was like
for the overall karate culture community.
That was the worst thing that could have happened.
I think was probably,
out of everything that could have gone wrong, that's probably the one thing that could have been the worst to go wrong.
That's what kills me about it. Those rules were made so that the uneducated public could see what techniques are good. And that kick was probably one of the most obviously amazing kicks.
And he was moving in. Even Joe Rogan said the dude was moving in to the kick. So it should have automatically been his fault and not the kicker's fault.
Absolutely.
I know that we're going backwards here because we're at the end of the podcast. But still, guys, we're never going to let this go. I don't think anybody's going to let this go.
Yeah, that's horrible.
We should all write very respectful hate mail to the whatever it's called. WKF. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just be better. Be the change you want to see.
Be a change.
Karate.
Be a change you want to see.
Be the change.
I thought you said a.
Be the change you want to see. Just maybe we should just all start knocking people out, and then they won't be able to stop us if we.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.